Many people say they want purpose, but what they really have is passion without structure, vision without strategy, and faith without movement. They know they are called to something greater, but they are stuck somewhere between the dream, the discipline required to build it. Today's conversation is going to bridge that gap.
Welcome to Mindset Mastery Moments, the best growth mindset podcast, recognized by Million Podcasts and ranked as a top mindset podcast by FeedSpot. We're proud to be in the top 1% on Listen Notes. Join Dr. Alisa Whyte as we explore powerful insights and strategies to elevate your mindset. Let's dive in.
Welcome back to Mindset Mastery Moments, the podcast where we disrupt outdated thinking, reclaim personal agency, and activate the mindset required to lead, live, and build a life of impact. I'm your host, of course, Dr. Alisa Whyte, the #1 mindset disruptor. Now, let's be honest for a moment. A lot of people want purpose. They pray for it. They talk about it. They even post all over social media about it. But purpose without alignment creates frustration, and purpose without strategy creates burnout. And I know, raise your hand if you've been there. And purpose without leadership mainly creates stagnation, because purpose is not just something you feel. Purpose is something you build your life around. Today's guest is someone who has spent years helping leaders and organizations do exactly that. Nedra Owens is a luminary leader, destiny broker, pastor, leadership strategist, and author. She's helped individuals move from intention to execution. Listen, you all know about the Dream Builders think tank. She is living, breathing it. So I'm going to have fun with this conversation. She is the co-founder, the executive pastor of Risen Church, founder of Reigning Women, and the host of Destiny by Design podcast. She is also the author of the powerful upcoming book, Keep Going, which reminds us that purpose doesn't disappear when life gets difficult. It simply requires faith, resilience to continue walking it out. Nedra helps leaders move through from stages of discovery, visualization, strategy, and into leadership. And today, we're going to unpack what that looks like. Nedra, welcome to Mindset Mastery Moments. Tell us who you are and what you do and why you do it in your own words.
Wow. Well, again, thank you so much. I am so honored to be able to share this opportunity with you. I am Nedra Owens, and I currently reside in Florence, South Carolina. My life has been a very interesting journey, but I will definitely say that as each year went, I gained more clarity, and that's centered around purpose. My passion is purpose, and helping people to find their purpose and to live it out. And so with that in mind, again, like you already said, I am a luminary leader and destiny broker. And for some that may not know what exactly is that,
Exactly.
my purpose is actually to unlock value, vision, and victory in people, platforms, and partnerships. So that's the overarching purpose of my life. And I was able to really take a deep dive over the years and to discover that actual purpose. And so I'm a polymath. So I have a lot of areas in which I delve into because I'm not one that likes to be in a box, but
Right.
I definitely know that all of the things that I do in my life does fit under that umbrella as a luminary leader and destiny broker. And so with that, it's just such a pleasure and an honor again to be able to share what is so dear to my heart. And like I said, I am a pastor.
Yes.
I am a CEO of Owens Connection, which houses the Purpose Alignment Leadership Institute. I have a passion to work with women. That's where the Reigning Women comes in. And we have an annual big gathering every single year. And our heart is to connect with women as much as possible. And also we also make sure we sponsor women for these major events, especially those that are often overlooked or sometimes you don't even think about them, like women in transitional shelters, even caregivers. Caregivers, that's another one that a lot of people sometimes don't consider. But anyway, but also too, I'm a certified Maxwell on the certified Maxwell team. And I'm also to a DISC. Yes. And I am a DISC trainer and consultant. And last but not least, I'm also not last, but I'm also a certified life purpose coach. And so putting
Mhm.
all of that together has led me to where I am today.
Yes. Thank you so much, Nedra. Well, I did not realize you were a John Maxwell coach as well. I am. I've been in the Maxwell team, I think 6 years now.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, so we definitely have something in common. I believe everyone who joins the Maxwell team, we have purpose and leadership at the heart of
Yes.
our own hearts and mind. That's kind of what we're attracted to John's work. So let's dive into something
Okay.
that was so stood out to me
Okay.
when I was looking at your work, and that is your purpose alignment framework. So,
Yes.
what inspired you to create that? Why do you think so many people struggle to identify their purpose?
I think a lot of people struggle to identify their purpose because in the beginning, I think they struggle of their identity. A
Mm,
lot of times I think that if we're not careful, we are just living a reactive life. We're reactive to
mm,
what's happening around us. If you're not
speak.
careful, you'll just go to work and go
Mhm,
to work, come back home, cook dinner, get the kids to bed. If you have children, you're just looking forward to the weekend so you can have
mhm,
some time off. And if you're not careful, that's what your life is. And
mhm.
in talking to a lot of people, there was a lot of people who were working at jobs that they didn't even love.
Come
And
on.
so, therefore, what led me down this path is for years, being the
Mhm,
executive pastor at my church, I
mhm,
also, too, from the beginning, I have been over the leadership team. And so
mhm,
I've taken to learning, growing, studying leadership for now well over 16 and a half years. And
wow.
with that, once you kind of take that and learning about leadership and loving the whole concept of leadership being influence,
Mhm.
then when you couple that with, I could see the problem that people lives were built around everybody else's purpose. And don't get me
Mm,
wrong, we are called to help other people. But if you're not
yes,
careful, you'll spend your life fulfilling everybody else's vision and never tapping into what you were called to do. And so
absolutely.
with that, that's the driving force. That's my why. Because
Mhm,
I believe that we all were created for a purpose on purpose. And each and
agreed.
every one of us have a supply that is unique just for us. It doesn't matter how many versions of what you're doing, they're still not you. And
Come
they
on,
can't bring to the table what you can bring to the table. And
come
sometimes we
on.
live in this world of comparison and looking at what everybody else is doing or copycat.
Mm,
And this looks successful, let me do it like her. Oh, this looks successful, let me do it like him, without really tapping into who are you? What is it that you really
right,
want to do?
exactly.
And so that's what drives me.
Mm, I love it. And you said the main word for me is I used to think it's that most people thought it was hard and that they have to pick something and commit with, but you said the main thing that I absolutely agree with: identity.
Mm,
Identity.
yes,
It's people when you just by listening to young children at this now between the ages of 12, even 13, 14,
yes,
they're always wanting to be like somebody else.
yes,
And when we were kids, we wanted to be like somebody else. But if you asked us what we wanted to be, it was a profession. And if you
it was.
asked us why, we would say, because I want to do this specific, I want to be a fireman so I could help people. If there's a fire, I can help them. I could drive the big engine. Now these kids are using words like influencer. And I'm like, what is an
Mm,
influencer? And they're
yes,
like, you don't know what an influencer is? I'm like, no, I don't. I want you to help me understand what's an influencer. Like
absolutely,
famous people, like people on TV or social media. I'm like, and what did they do? They're
exactly.
famous. And I'm like, doing what? And I'm
That is
looking,
so true.
and I ask, how much do they get paid? Who they help?
Yes, yeah.
Hmm.
What is interesting, even when you mention about your childhood, and even when you're thinking about purpose, we
Mm-hmm.
gotta sometimes take a step back and look back into our childhood because a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times our families, our
Mm-hmm.
parents have been the gatekeepers to our
Mm-hmm.
exposure. if you may have someone who says, when I was growing up, I wanted to be a ballerina. And then if mom and dad was like, girl, you're not going to be no ballerina. You need to go over here and do this. But the problem that parents got to realize is you've got to allow your child to explore, because sometimes when we talk about passion, sometimes passion is not always just automatic. You don't just come out of the womb with a passion.
Right.
I believe passion develops over time, but that becomes with exposure. And so because that's for me with leadership. I didn't grow up. I wasn't. Now, yes, I've always, with being DISC, I'm a DI personality. So I'm talkative. I always know what I want. I know how to communicate it, but leadership wasn't something I could say at 5 years old, I wanted to do leadership. It was because I was exposed to it. And then I was able to explore it. And that's how I began to start delving into it much more. So the question becomes, one of the first questions I ask people when we sit down and talk about purpose is to really decipher, what is it that you want to do versus what others want you to do? And sometimes that's hard, because sometimes people got to differentiate between, am I doing what pleases others, or am I doing what really pleases me? Tapping into who I really am. And if you're not careful, you'll spend your whole life living up to a standard, pleasing what is the norm or what is expected, right? And you could really leave this world and you never gave the world all of what God created you to be.
Come on. Come on. And not even
Absolutely.
halfway. You didn't scratch the surface. One of the common mistakes leaders make when they pursue vision without alignments, what are those? Because I love that you say in your work, you talk about purpose is something that is not mystical or distant. It's actually alignment. You use that
It
word a
is.
lot. So if you can
It is.
explain what alignment actually means when you talk about in the space of leadership.
Absolutely. When you're talking about purpose, and especially because the Purpose Alignment Leadership Institute is ultimately guiding people through the process to transformational leadership.
Mm.
So, transformational leadership is where you are actively participating in this world to bring about change, positive change in the lives of other people and
Mhm.
organizations. Well, when you talk about alignment, it first starts with purpose, knowing your purpose. But see, that drives everything. It drives your decisions. It helps you with your yeses and your nos. It helps you
Mhm.
with narrowing down your vision plan for your life.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
currently have a 20-year vision plan. So I
Right.
have it written out of what I'm doing the next 20 years. But guess what? That's centered around my purpose. It's not just wishful thinking or going
Yeah.
off on a trail. It also, to that alignment, it's making sure that it aligns with who you are, what your core values are.
Mhm.
Everything should all center around where you started, and that is your purpose, that is your why. And see, that alignment helps you to stay on track. It helps you to accomplish more. It helps you to
Mm.
really draw out the potential that you have inside of you. Potential
Mhm.
is a people love to say the word, but if you really think
Mhm.
about it, potential does you and I no good if it never comes out. And so
Yes.
therefore, that alignment helps to draw out that potential. That alignment is also to helping to create capacity,
Yes.
because we've got to continue to grow and creating that capacity for who we're growing into. And so therefore, alignment is very important. And it helps us not to just live life blindly.
Mhm.
I'm not an advocate for just que sera, sera, whatever would be, would be. Now,
Leave it,
we all
yeah.
have a
If it's
right
meant to
to
be.
show up to this world, make decisions. And yes, the unexpected happens in our lives and we have to make adjustments. Absolutely.
Yes.
However, we're decision makers. And with being
Mhm.
decision makers, we play an active role in our lives. A lot of people are the supportive role in their lives versus being the
Mm.
main actor. And
Yes.
and and we got to step up and be the main actor, and make sure our lives are aligned with our purpose. And
Mm.
so therefore, alignment is very crucial. It's very important when it comes to leadership. Because when I talked about transformational leadership, if I'm going to make the impact, and whether it's at home, whether it's in the community, whether it's in the state, we're never going to minimize leadership because it is influence, as you know, nothing more,
Yes,
nothing
yes,
less.
nothing
And
less.
so,
Yes,
therefore, we have the ability, I believe, to make greater impact than we can ever imagine, but it does require our alignment.
it does. Alignment, so huge. You start your leadership model with the word discover. And I love this because
Yes,
before strategy comes identity. So
it
talk
does.
to us about this phase. Why is discovering your purpose the foundation of leadership?
Well, it is so important because your identity shapes every single thing about your life. How you
Mhm.
see yourself, how you view yourself, what's your why, all of that shapes the next step. Your vision is going to come from your identity. So, in other words, if you don't see yourself as great, if you don't
Mhm.
see yourself as who God created you to be, you're going to dumb down your vision. And therefore, if you dumb down your
Yes,
vision, then now your strategy is going to be impacted and you're not going to lead to the full potential that God created you to be. And so when you're
I
talking
agree.
about your identity, you really have to know who you are. Now, of course, I'm
Mm.
faith based, right?
Mhm.
And guide people to let's talk about who are you? Who did God create you to be? And
Mm.
actually accepting it and not dumbing down on it. Being
Right.
confident in that very statement. You know, I have gotten to the point that I accept the fact that I am the highest expression of divine genius and
Mm.
intelligence and given as a gift to humanity for such a time as this.
Come
Am I
on now.
cocky? Absolutely not. No.
Am I
But
confident? Yes.
yes, because I know who I am. And
Yes.
so your identity, and I think also too with that discover phase, not only does it cover who are you, but it also too helps you to better get to know yourself, know how you
Mhm.
wired. Yes, there is a component where you can do DISC. Of course, I think DISC is really good to understand your personality.
Mhm.
Before being introduced to DISC, I've been living Nedra all these years, but my goodness, it helped me to learn
You
how
dig
I'm
deeper.
wired. Why do I do, why am I a bottom line person? I could tell you that, but now I realize, wow, that is my personality. But it also to help me to learn how I can better relate with other people, recognizing the areas that I may not be as strong in when it comes to my
Mhm.
personality, and then
Mhm.
also to helping you to now say, okay, now that I've weeded through, my why, who am I? What is it that I really want to pursue in life? And helping to
Yes.
give it a good umbrella because,
Mhm.
I've talked to people and they'll say, my purpose is to help people, which is that sounds like a great thing. And then I'll be like, so do you like to help people change their
How?
tires? Do you like to help people,
Wash dishes?
grocery
I
shopping?
mean,
Yes,
and there's nothing
exactly.
wrong with that, but what is it you like to do?
Nothing. But the purpose is going to be kind of like a larger umbrella because you're not trying to put yourself into a
That's
box.
right.
But it
That's it.
also too is stemmed from your identity. So that discover part
Mhm.
really helps guides a person through that process of getting to know themselves better, confirming who they are. Is it the current career you in? Is that something that you really want to do? Is this something that you have a passion for, or is it what
Mhm.
was expected of you? And it's really just trying to make sure because the rest of the steps will not properly work if we don't get the discover part right.
Right. Yeah. I love that. And so it makes me think as I hear you share that so eloquently, and to me, very much aligns with my own beliefs around purpose. How do leaders know the difference, though, between passion and assignment? Because, there's so many, we can have so many different passions. You mentioned it earlier, but pinpointing the assignment and the season for that particular assignment, or you might even have several and knowing to what degree. How do leaders differentiate between those two words or things happening all kind of at the same time in their lives?
Wow, that is an excellent question. I reflect on my life because I am I love adventure. I like to try things. I've been a Zumba instructor. I've done cake
Yeah.
decorating and a pastry chef.
Come on,
All
girl.
of these different things because I was like, listen, when I leave here, I don't want to leave nothing on the table. Right?
Live full and die empty.
But like, even say it, yes, am I still able to bake and do all of these different things? Absolutely. But the way I know help to differentiate between, the passion, what is my current assignment right now, I think you
Mhm.
still have to go back to, and I know this thing kind of evolves because I know for me, what I knew my purpose to be has evolved over time.
Mhm.
But I think what you have to do is you have to be present. You got to get out of auto mode with your life.
Mm.
And I think you really have to sit down with yourself to really see, where you're at this stage of your life. I know for me, I'm big on personal growth. And
Mhm.
so as you grow, you're going to evolve. And I think as you grow, I believe you're going to get more clarity. And so as
Mhm.
over the years when I begin to get more clarity about my life and about my purpose, that purpose at the time helped to dictate priorities. So
Mhm.
therefore, I knew, Nedra, what I'm called to do now, I'm called to help others to develop in transformational leadership. Well, when I looked at the vision, right, and the
Mm.
plans moving ahead, I had to set priorities. And so therefore the cakes went on the back burner. And
Mhm. Mhm.
because when I looked at the vision for my life moving ahead, now, yes, 3 years from now, I do have on my vision plan, I do want to open up a bistro. Now, yes, I'm not going to be in that
Go
bistro
cook in
working
the
it.
bistro. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
but I do want to open up a bistro and I do aspire and that kind of brings in some of the pastry chef and things of
Yeah, the
that
passion,
nature.
those passions, yeah.
Those type of things. But in this season right here right now, I am really walking out. So to decipher between a passion and whatever, I would say it goes back to, let's look back at your purpose,
Mm.
and you've got to look at your whole life. In other
Mm.
words, you've got to look at everything. And what is it? One of my mentors said that if you do not write your vision down, it's not legal. You've got to write it down. That's the reason why
Physically.
yes, you got to physically write it down and you really have to look at it. And so when I began to start writing out, Nedra, what is it that you want to get accomplished? And literally, so what it, cause how that started with everything I wanted to get accomplished, right?
Mhm.
But it was driven by my purpose. And so again,
Yes.
it includes a lot of things. But for me, I'm naturally a planner. So therefore, I began to say, listen, I've got to get this leadership institute off the ground, but I'm also too a pastor. I have three beautiful girls, right?
Right.
One's in college and one's about to go to college and you when you look at all of those things, you have to set priorities. And so
Yes.
I'm not an advocate for push everything to the side, but
Mhm.
because again, I do a lot of things. And the biggest thing
Preaching
is
to the choir.
balancing. So
Yes.
I'm not an advocate for throwing all this stuff away, but
Mhm.
you can have a passion for something, but it may not take a priority. And I
Oh.
think you really and I think for me, God helps to set those priorities for me.
Mm.
And right now I'm in a season where it's building certain things I'm building and not only building the different, projects, institutions, but I got to build teams
Mhm.
and build different things. So in this season and time right now, Zumba been off the table for years. The cake decorating, which I love to do, but
Yeah, I haven't done that for so many years, yeah.
that is on the back burner right now because in this particular season, it's based upon priorities. But then I think learning priorities also to helps you in general. It helps you with your day-to-day operations. So I would say in summary, passion, don't throw it away, but you've got to
Mhm.
set priorities in the season that you're
Mhm.
in now
And to
and making
focus on the
sure that
assignment.
it's moving that needle forward of what you're
Mhm.
really trying to get accomplished. Because if 20 years from now, 5 years from now, 2 years from now, you're trying to make sure that you're at a certain marker, then from that point, you work your way back to determine what do I need to do now and leading up to those 2 years to get that accomplished. So my life is driven by vision. Of course, vision is
Yes.
birthed from purpose, but it's not where I just come up with something and a lot of times people are like, yep, one day I'm going to one day,
Yeah.
and when you're talking to people, yes, one day. And that's a great idea. But if you don't put pen to pad, if you don't have the strategy and things that come from it, then it's going to mess up your priorities.
Absolutely will.
So I know that was a
So,
long.
oh no, it's a very important spot where people struggle a lot. This is the other piece that I want to bring to front from your
Sure.
visualize, where you talk about vision and possibility. They dream, but
Yes.
they don't never build, right? And I created a space, especially mentorship space, just for people who feel stuck and they're spinning their wheels. And my question for you, Nedra, is how do leaders, number one, see beyond their current circumstances to keep moving through with that vision? And then secondly, how does faith influence the vision that a leader will have? I just love that you put faith and vision together because there's no way it's happening without it. And I
That's
don't care
true.
what religion you are, you're gonna have to have faith, but
You're going to
we
have
get
to.
stuck, we never get started. So how do leaders learn to just move beyond looking at, well, I don't have this, I don't have that. Like I'm not the kind of person that speaks. I want to start this business, but I have to go up there and talk to people. I have to tell people about my product. I'm not telling you being a speaker, but they just have these circumstances that they create or some of them that are legitimately in front of them. How do they move beyond those to push forward with that vision, and then how does the fate play a part in that vision and execution?
Oh, that's so good. My goodness. See, in the discover phase, not only do you need to come into agreement and alignment with who you are, but
Mm,
see, it's not just who you are, it's who is the God that lives inside of you.
mm,
It is realizing the depth of who you really are. If
yes.
I keep on looking at my life through the lens of me, myself, and I'm going to limit myself every single time. But
Mm-hmm.
I've got to take on the mind of Christ. I've got to begin to really, the faith part comes in is really asking God to help me to see myself as he sees me. And what
Mm,
happens is a lot of us, because of the lack of resources or uncertainty or whatnot, we limit ourselves the ability to dream. But dreaming is one of the most powerful tools because
mm-hmm.
even with faith, you cannot really walk out something that you cannot see. And I'm talking about seeing on the inside of you. And so
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to visualizing, you've got to let yourself dream. And that
Mm,
dreaming aspect has nothing to do with resources. Dream, write it out. I mean, it should be big, bold, audacious, over the top. It don't matter how over the top it is. Write it down, right? We'll
mm-hmm.
deal with the other stuff later. Write it down. Allow yourself. I spend time I spend time just to dream. I
Mm-hmm.
take time out of my day to just go, I'm going to quiet myself. I'm going to just pull away from all the hustle and the bustle. This is a time
Yes.
to dream. And you will be surprised how many ideas, how many things yes. And half the time my hands are shaking as I'm writing it down. Why? Because it is big, bold, audacious. And you're sitting here going, what in the world? But I write it down, right? I write it down. And I think you have to train yourself to do it. You got to be purposeful. You got to be intentional. I'm going to spend some time to dream. And if you're just starting, my goodness, do 5 minutes, do 10 minutes, but be
Yes.
intentional. We're going to sit down and dream. We're going to sit down. I'm going to take a little break because if you don't, you're going to rob yourself of a lot in life. And so with
Mm-hmm.
that, the faith comes in because, the reality of it is that we get so focused in the how
Yes.
How am I going to do it? But what I recommend and tell people at this stage, get out of the how. I
Mm.
just need you to dream. Just I need you to visualize.
Yes.
This part has, and a lot of times, even with being a pastor, we tell people do not get tangled in the how, and that's where a
Mm.
lot of people stop. How is it going to happen? Why? Because there's this innate part of us that has to know from beginning to end how it's going to happen. But the reality of it
Yes.
is that if it is in fact a God-given idea,
Hmm.
God has already done it. If you will
Yes.
lean into him, he'll walk you through it of how to get to the end. And so the reality of it is that get out of the how, just dream. Because again,
Mm.
if you don't dream, what are you going to strategize?
What vision? Come on. And let's talk about strategy right there. That's now that's where things get really, really serious is strategy because a lot of people, Nedra, love vision boards, but they hate execution, right? So why is
Yeah.
strategy that missing piece for so many leaders then? Because that's why you and I get paid because
Yes.
a lot of people they don't allow themselves, number one, I believe in that, in the phases and steps that you have to really just dream. So when you sit with them, a lot of times you're just helping them dream and connect with themselves and their
Yes.
identity. And then now we can be like, okay, so let's move, right? And I
Yes.
agree, because even though I'm a strategist, I have blind spots. So having
Mm-hmm.
another strategist in my life, or several actually, based on what I'm working on, is key for my execution, but I fail. Even when I don't have money, I get from like, I'm like, okay, so I need a strategist for my marketing plan. And people are like, they charge a whole lot of money. Yeah, I know, but right now I need it. So I'm going to talk to as many of them, not to get info, but
Mm-hmm.
to start aligning myself with the company of people who are talking marketing
Absolutely.
strategy. And then watch, that's my step because only thing I have is my vision that God gave me. So my job is to move boldly into the vision. So now I'm starting to
Absolutely.
interview the next best marketing strategist for me. Whatever price they say, that's not my concern. That's
No,
his concern because he's the one who gave
absolutely.
me the task. Did I ever tell I mean, I don't have children, but when I was a child, my mom used to say, Alisa, can you come here and go to the store? And when I had to run over to the store, she gave me money. She didn't expect me to figure out where I was going to get the money from. So
Absolutely.
why would my daddy, who is the creator of heaven and earth, give me an assignment and not give me the material? He wouldn't give me the material for me to squander. So in order, I make way, I get ready. So it won't be a question about which marketing firm I'm working with or per strategist because I've already done the work. And then boom, here comes the money. Oh, here,
Absolutely.
that's all I got to do. I got to show up. So talk to us. Why is strategy that missing piece that many leaders lack? Where are they at?
A lot of people get stuck with strategy because they're so nearsighted and they get
Mm.
stuck at what's an inch in front of them. And so, and they're so stuck on the how and how it's going to, but the reality of it is that the Red Sea didn't part because they were sitting there talking about the Egyptians the Red Sea start parting when they actually start moving because God was like, oh, and so
And
the
they're like,
reality of it is
but, and he's like,
you're going
the
to get
ones who said
more
but
as you
were the ones
go.
who got swallowed up because the other ones just kept going.
That's right. Strategy is that part, I think, also to where I think it challenges also to, and identifies and brings to surface, also to think areas that we most likely need to grow in. And I
Mm-hmm.
think people have to get out of their mind that, well, I dreamed and I placed it in the Lord's hands. And they just think God just going to sprinkle his pixie dust on us and lift us up from the miry clay and it's just going to go ta-da. It
Yeah.
doesn't work that way.
No.
It's God working with us.
Mm-hmm.
But that part of working with us is strategy. And I think the reality of it is that, that's where work ethic comes in. That's where being disciplined comes in. That's where
Consistent.
staying focused comes in.
Mm-hmm.
That's where that strategize phase is where you're going to have to learn if you want to be great in the area that you in, you have to learn how to not wiggle out of doing what you set to do.
Come on.
And sometimes you have to start. I always say start small. If you say, listen, my goal is, based upon my vision plan, my goal is to do this. And, and Strategize helps you to go, okay, now you want to be specific, be detailed. When do you want to get this accomplished? Yes, I want to get this accomplished in the next 6 months. Okay, great. Now we got to work our way back because why? Every week leading up to that, we need to map out exactly what you're going to so that you can get that accomplished. But when that week comes around, we got to learn how to not wiggle out of doing what we set to do. And that's where discipline comes in. And I'm
Yes.
telling you, that is something that you'll find a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people get caught there. And sometimes when things don't work out as planned or go as planned, some people don't shift. Some people think that if it was God's plan, it wouldn't be hard. That's a lie.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
That's a
Mhm.
lie, because, I think about my husband and I, we planted this church 16 years ago,
Wow.
but we planted it in a city that we felt like God told us to go there, but we didn't know anybody. And so we built it from the ground with the help of God. Was there challenges? Absolutely. And I think what happens is that strategize phase makes people feel uncomfortable. And I think when people
Mhm.
feel uncomfortable, they equate that to maybe this isn't where I need to be. But
Come on
if
now.
you're going for anything great, if you're trying to continue to grow as an individual, you're going to feel uncomfortable. And I think you have
Yes.
to get comfortable with being. So strategy is really, I think strategy, in my opinion, is
Mhm.
really you mastering you. And because the
Yes.
hardest person to lead is ourselves.
Yes.
And that's why I believe it's so challenging.
Wow. So good. And your final stage in your framework is lead, but leadership is not about titles. We know leadership is influence, and we love to say and influence create opportunities. What does transformational leadership look like in ministry, business, and in our communities?
Transformational leadership is really simply about using your gifts, your talents, your purpose to positively not only impact your life, but positively change the lives of others.
Mm,
And so that in a broad sense, it's about realizing that my life was not meant just for me to do things that totally just solely satisfies me. Yes, we do things that,
mm,
of course, but I believe that God has placed a purpose inside of us that can change
mhm,
this world. I mean, there are
mhm.
things and gifts and talents, purposes that we all have that can really help other people to be better,
Yeah.
to be great. And I believe that when I get better, we get better. When me,
Yes.
we get better. And I think that concept carries over in our faith, it carries over on our jobs, in our institutions, in every area of our life.
I agree. I agree. Oh my goodness, man. Time is going by too quickly. I have so many more questions, but I want to talk a little bit before we run out of time about your book, Keep Going.
Yes,
You are also launching your book, or you recently launched it, Keep Going. And I love this title
yes,
because leadership journeys are rarely easy. And so, what
yeah.
inspired you to write Keep Going?
Well, so yes, Keep Going has already launched. It's available and you can go look it up on any bookstore. Keep
Nice.
Going actually was inspired actually through a personal journey of mine of having multiple miscarriages. And the book just in the first chapter just really kind of talks about the emotions, the mindset, the questions, why is this happening to me, the disappointments in life
Mm,
in general. But the rest of the book really just really walks people through how do you get beyond that tragedy or that hardship or that time in your life that it seems like, what in the world am I going to do? It really just walks people through how to reset your mind, how to anchor yourself, and how to set a vision and a path moving forward. Throughout the process, I talk about how I had to really come to grips with who I was and who I wasn't, right? Because it was
Mhm.
feelings of failure, feeling of why is this happening to me? But I realized I had to get out of the pity, and I
Yes.
had to pull my bootstraps up and come up with a plan of what I'm going to do. And I determined within myself, I'm going to have another baby. Now, I had miscarriages, but before my
Mm.
first child, but after my second child, after having my second child, I had some more miscarriages. And
Mhm.
one year, I think I had two in one year. And I was just deflated, right?
Yeah.
But I had to make up in my mind what the end was going to be.
Yeah.
And I determined that I was going to have another child. So I just began to take that faith walk. And the book just talks
Mm.
about even scriptures that I stood on to help reset my thinking. The book also just talks about how I had to really address the things that I learned growing up that I realized was not true. And
Yeah.
so, but those things shape my thinking.
Mhm.
And everything starts with your thinking, of course. And
Yes.
so once I reset my thinking, I got a different image on the inside of me. And I chronicled through the process. I did see to the end of my faith. I did have one more
Mm.
child.
Uh,
And the book is really to encourage people to not give up on your dreams, not give
yes.
up on life. You still got purpose in you, and you got to keep going.
Go in. I love it. That is huge. And that is a word that is so needed for today. And don't we know it as leaders ourselves, how sometimes it gets so physically, mentally, emotionally, and sometimes spiritually demanding that you're just like, I think I'm done. I think I need to stop. I think this is it. Oh God. I remember George Jefferson. Is it George Jefferson? He said, Wednesday, this is the big one. And he used
Yeah,
to carry on. You feel like it's the big one, but it's not. You got to keep
it's
going.
not.
So we do flip the script, and you already give us that moment where everything, and you had to work on your mindset and work on your faith and just keep going.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna pull more out of you, but I'm gonna ask you, Nidra, how do you define success for yourself?
Success for me is not based upon perfection.
Mm,
Success is knowing your purpose, living it out, and positively impacting others. If
yes.
I base my life around perfection, I'm always going to feel like I'm never reaching the mark. And the reality of it is that I think we have to redefine what failure is, because we think about
Yes.
success and failure. And sometimes we think a mistake is failure, or I didn't get this
Mm,
wrong as failure. But I think what we have to do is look at things through a different lens. Really, was it
mhm.
failure? Was it? Or was it, you know what? This is helping my learning curve. And I
Yes.
think if you look at things that way, ultimately success, living out your purpose, and changing the lives of many others. That to me is what success is.
Yes, I love it. Oh, that's beautiful. Nidra, we close every episode with something we call Mindset Bites to go. And before we get into connecting with you, I'd love for you to take a moment where I leave you with the audience, the microphone, and the camera for a powerful lesson. And here's a question I have for you is if someone is listening today, they feel lost, discouraged, or disconnected from their purpose, or they have maybe even written the vision and made it clear, but they feel stuck on making it through that next phase of strategizing. What would you say to them? Here you go.
I would definitely say, listen, you are not alone. Do not feel like you're going about this and doing things alone all by yourself. I would highly recommend that you get connected with a coach, a mentor, or somebody else that can be able to help you to bring about clarity. You definitely need clarity, but nothing is wrong with you. You are on track. That's definitely what I would share with you. But I think what you have to do is be very strategic about how you're going to move forward. And so, therefore, I think it's great to get a mentor, start reading books, have something in place that's going to help you to narrow out how to move forward. But you gotta know right here and right now that you have a purpose and God made you on purpose for a purpose. You don't need to fret. You don't need to be anxious. God is going to help you figure it out. And you've got to continue to know that. You got to continue to declare that. And I think you need to follow his path and follow his lead until you get the clarity that you need. And I know there's a community of people all around this world that you can tap into that can help you overcome that hump. And so I would definitely tell you to keep going, but don't give up on your purpose in life.
Oh, that's so, so good. Don't give up on your purpose in life. You've
Yes.
got to get clear about it, clear about your identity, and you've got to go through that discovery. Then you have to go through the visualization. I'm getting it with clarifying and building with intention. Let's
Yes.
go. So tell us,
Let's
how do
go.
we connect with you specifically? What's your favorite way for us to connect with you? And tell us again, I think you have a purpose alignment starter guide that you've created as well. Tell us about that.
Okay, so the Purpose Alignment Starter, you can actually go out to nedraowens.com, select leadership, and I'll give you more information. Right now, there is a Purpose Alignment Assessment that you can take. So it helps you to kind of gauge where you are amongst
Awesome.
the 4 different areas and kind of guide you through that process. And then also too, there's a Purpose Alignment Map. So it helps you. That map, it has you to kind of consider questions that you can ask yourself because it helps you to kind of really locate where you are. I'm a strong believer that you got to know where you begin. And then that helps you to map out, where you're going, because even like a GPS, you can have a destination, but if you don't know where you're starting, Houston, we have a problem. And so those two resources help you to kind of identify, like, where am I? Where am I strongest at or not? And so those are the resources out there at nedraowens.com. And of course, you can follow me on social media. I'm on Facebook, Nedra Owens, Instagram, Mrs. Nedra Owens. I'm on LinkedIn, on YouTube. Now, YouTube is, you're going to find me under Owens Connection because that's the organization overall. But yes, that's how you can connect with me.
See, oh my goodness, this conversation has been so incredible. I am so grateful for your presence. This purpose is not something you stumble into. It's something we discover, we clarify, we build with intentional leadership. So I really want to encourage you, listeners and viewers, if this conversation inspired you today, make your connect with Nedra Owens. Explore her purpose alignment framework and grab a copy of her book, Keep Going. And also, she just launched her institute as well, Nedra, right? I forgot what it's called.
It's called Purpose Alignment Leadership Institute.
Yes.
So, and so you can go out there and it kind of lets, I'm going to be actually launching the different phases month by month, but it's going to be for individuals and organizations.
Amazing. I checked it out a few days ago as well. So you will have all the links and description wherever you're listening, watching to this episode. We would love to hear your comments and your feedback about our conversation. Let us know if we should do a part 2 to it. I certainly think we should, because let me tell you, there's a lot more to talk about in this area. And she is a mound of knowledge and just so much wonderful transformational information. Thank you, Nedra, for being with us today.
Thank you. Thank you. This is a great opportunity.
Thank you. And Disruptors, remember, this journey of discovery is yours to build, and you align it with your leadership and just keep mastering your mindset. Think, speak, do, become. I'm Dr. Lisa. I will see you on the next episode. Bye now.